law of the land is the law of the culture that lives on that particular land. However, there is a higher law that dominates the entire world. It's called the law of the water, or the law of the high seas. The law of water is referred to as the law of money. It doesn't matter what color you are, where you're from, or where you live. Money is money.
Do you ever feel like you're just another number in the system? You pay taxes, sign contracts, and follow rules you never agreed to, but why? The truth is, from the moment you were born, your life has been governed by two ancient laws: the law of the land and the law of the sea. When you were born, you weren't just issued a birth certificate. That certificate is more than a record. It's a contract, a financial instrument that turned you into a product within the system. These two laws control everything: your money, your identity, and even the courts. Under the law of the sea, you're treated as cargo, tracked, taxed, and traded. Under the law of the land, your freedoms are restricted by local rules and customs. Ever notice how your name appears in all caps on your birth certificate, driver's license, and government documents? That's not random. It's part of a system rooted in maritime trading laws that treat you not as a living being, but as a corporation. Step into a courtroom, and the signs are everywhere. The judge sits higher than you, symbolizing authority. The dock where you stand mimics how ships dock in ports. The bar separates you from the judge's bench, tying back to banks where commerce is controlled. Even the gold fringe on the flag signifies maritime law. These aren't mere decorations. They're reminders of a hidden system where everything, including you, is commerce. Here's the catch. By showing up, you're consenting to this system. In court, you're not treated as a person. You're reduced to a legal fiction, your straw man, a corporate entity separate from your physical self. Why? Because under maritime law, everything is about contracts, obligations, and control. Think about this. Your social security number isn't just an ID, it's a tracking number for your corporate trust. The money in your wallet isn't real money, it's debt notes. I owe you, promises from the Federal Reserve. Every license you hold, contract you sign, and tax you pay feeds into this system, whether you realize it or not. But here's what most people miss. This system only works through consent. By understanding these hidden laws, you can begin to see how they shape your life and take back control. There are two systems at play in this world, one for those who know the rules, and another for those who don't. In the same courtroom, the rules can shift based on how you present yourself and which jurisdiction you unknowingly accept. Those who understand these hidden laws often encounter strange reactions when they question authority. Ask a bank manager about your strawman account or a judge about maritime jurisdiction. Watch their faces. They'll dismiss you, dodge the question, or act as if you're speaking nonsense. But deep down, they know. This system didn't appear overnight. It was carefully constructed centuries ago to manage trade on the seas. Ships carrying goods were tracked, recorded, and valued to ensure control over commerce. Over time, this system was brought onto land, hiding in plain sight, and now it governs your life without you even realizing it. Think of the language we use today, it exposes its origins. Currency comes from current, a flow of water. Banks control the movement of money, just like riverbanks guide the flow of a river. Your wealth is called liquid assets, because money, like water, flows and moves. Fall behind on your bills? You're drowning in debt, a perfect metaphor for sinking under financial pressure, like a ship taking on water. Your paycheck is part of your current income, emphasizing the constant flow of money in motion. Money stored in an account is like water in a reservoir, held back and controlled until it's released. If a company fails, it's said to be underwater, dragged down by currents it can no longer escape. Economic collapses are called financial floods. Money moves too quickly, overwhelming systems like a storm surge. Interest on loans rises like a tide, slowly pulling borrowers deeper into debt. The stock market, described as turbulent. Waves of value crash unpredictably, lifting some while drowning others. When someone loses everything, they're drained of resources. The river runs dry and nothing flows anymore. Wealth is fluid, always moving, adapting, and disappearing if you don't know how to contain it. Even the phrase money laundering reveals the truth. Dirty money is washed clean, much like water purifies contamination. Economies facing downturns experience a financial drought, and when things go wrong, they need bailouts, literally bailing water to stop a sinking ship. This isn't just poetic language, it's a code. The financial system has been engineered like an ocean, with money constantly flowing, shifting, and circulating. And just like tides are controlled by the moon, the flow of money is controlled by those at the top: banks, courts, and governments. Here's the truth. Those who understand these rules control the system. Money is water, and those who control the flow hold the real power. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left to sink, swim, or drown, often without realizing we're even in the water. Once you start looking, the evidence is everywhere. Your birth certificate, it's printed on bond paper, the same paper used for financial instruments. Legal documents, they're written in language borrowed from ancient maritime contracts. Banking, it all traces back to shipping insurance and sea trade. Some call this crazy talk, but is it? Think of a hamster on a wheel. It runs endlessly but goes nowhere, trapped in a system it can't escape. Now replace the wheel with licenses, taxes, loans, contracts, and banks. Every step you take feels like progress, but you're just running in circles, locked inside someone else's system. Take a closer look. You need a license to drive, to marry, or to start a business. Each one is a contract binding you to rules you never wrote. You pay taxes on your income, your property, and even your food. These taxes are enforced under maritime law, treating you as a commercial entity, another vessel on the books. A loan? It's not just borrowing money. It's a financial trap designed to keep you paying for years, feeding the system. Even your bank account isn't what it seems. Your name, your money, your identity, it's all part of the grand game of commerce. Here's the reality. Language is the scaffolding of your reality. Every word, every term, every contract reinforces your role in this system. Phrases like, I owe, I can't afford, or I have no choice, aren't just words. They're invisible bars locking you into place. This matters because these hidden laws govern everything: your rights, your money, and your freedom. They dictate how the courts treat you, how banks handle your accounts, and how the government views you. Not as a living person, but as a corporate entity. Look for the clues. The next time you sign a government form, enter a courtroom, or study legal documents, pay attention. Notice the language they use. Observe the symbols and procedures. The patterns are there, hiding in plain sight, because no one ever taught you to look for them. This isn't about avoiding laws or dodging responsibility. It's about understanding the real rules that govern society. Once you see how the system works, you can start making better choices. You can stop playing their game blindly. And make no mistake, this system didn't appear overnight. It grew from old sea trading laws, rules designed centuries ago to govern commerce on the oceans. In the 1600s, ships carried goods across treacherous waters, and merchants needed systems to settle disputes, protect cargo, and handle trade. Over time, these maritime laws left the sea and crept onto the land, embedding themselves into your courts, banks, and governments. Ships were like floating nations. The captain acted as judge, and the flag they flew determined whose rules they followed. The system worked so efficiently that governments adopted it, merging it with their legal codes. The British Empire spread these laws around the world, embedding them so deeply that even newly independent nations still follow British-style courts today. The language exposes the truth. If you're in trouble, you're in hot water. Can't pay a fine? Someone has to bail you out, like saving a sinking ship. A company out of money has sunk. To survive, you must stay above water. Your paycheck is current income, money flowing like a river's current. Banks hold your money in accounts, like goods held on a dock. Assets are liquid, because money flows in and out like water. A mortgage means death pledge, a contract that ends only when it's paid or when you die. Fail to pay your debts, and your property is seized, a term from maritime warfare where ships and cargo were captured at sea. Revenue ties back to Latin revenire, meaning to return, just like the tides. Companies float stock on the market. If they fail, they sink. Investors navigate financial tides and waves. And it doesn't stop there. When you sign a contract, you're tied up in obligations, like a ship moored to the dock. The judge presides over court proceedings, just as a captain presides over his vessel. Lawyers practice law because the system is a performance, just like contracts written for ships and cargo. Breach of contract? It's the same as a breach in a ship's hull. Companies facing closure liquidate assets because commerce has always been tied to water. Even shipping goods online comes from this system. Goods used to be literally shipped across oceans. Everything ties back to water and commerce. The stock market, contracts, courtrooms, and even your finances. They all operate on maritime principles. You are the cargo. Your name, your labor, and your life are the goods being tracked, traded, and taxed. The system isn't hiding. It's right in front of you, woven into the very language we use. Strange. Maybe. But strange doesn't mean false. The clues are everywhere. In every courthouse, on every contract, and in every history book, if you just know where to look. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you understand it, you can stop being the hamster on the wheel and start reclaiming control. This system, rooted in ancient maritime laws, isn't just about commerce nor history. It's about control. And once you see it, you'll realize how deeply it infiltrates every aspect of your life. Let's go further. What if I told you that you're not just part of the system? You are the system. Your existence, your labor, your identity, everything has been commodified, tracked, and monetized. And the system keeps growing and changing. But it still uses basic ideas from sea trade, contracts, jurisdiction, and treating things as property. Modern business law builds on these old foundations. These sea laws shaped how we think about rights and rules. They mixed with other legal ideas, but kept their basic form. They still influence how courts and governments work today. Looking at current laws shows clear links to this history. From court procedures to business contracts, many rules trace back to old sea trading practices. This knowledge explains why our legal system works the way it does. The words we use shape our reality more than most people know. English, as we speak it today, carries hidden meanings that go back hundreds of years. And it's not just English. This is found in nearly all existing languages. These hidden meanings create a system of control that most of us don't see. Let's look at how this works. Think about the word person. In legal terms, a person isn't a living human. It's a corporation. When you were born, your name was turned into a financial instrument. But did you know there's a hidden number on your birth certificate? Check the back. You'll often find a red or black serial number. That number is tied to a bond traded on international markets. You are collateral, an asset to back your government's loans. When you say, "I am a person," you're actually saying, "I am a corporation." This is how banks and governments can treat people like property. Governments borrow money from private banks and use you, your future labor and productivity, as security. Think of it this way. You are the cargo that gives the system its value. The word understand has a hidden meaning too. When broken down, understand means to stand under authority. So when someone asks, "Do you understand?" and you say, "Yes," you're agreeing to stand under their authority. This happens in courts all the time. Words like citizen, resident, and individual seem normal, but they're tricks. A citizen is someone who gives up their rights to be protected by a government. A resident is someone who owes a debt. An individual is someone who can't be divided from the system. Look at how we use money words in everyday talk. I spend time. I invest energy. I owe you a favor. This isn't random. The banking system has made us think about everything like it's money, even our lives. You know the phrase, bank draft? It comes from shipping drafts, where captains issued payment documents to release goods. Your bank releases your funds in the same way, only when all conditions of the system are satisfied. Courts use special language too. Notice how everything in court is written in all capital letters? That's because they're talking about corporations, not living people. Your name in all caps isn't you, it's a company that was created when you were born. Ever wonder why pleading guilty is called entering a plea? Because it's a contractual agreement. You're agreeing to their jurisdiction, giving up your right to challenge it. The word contract comes from contract, meaning to reduce or make smaller. Every time you sign a contract, you give up some of your natural rights. This is how banks and governments slowly take control. Here's something most people miss: the difference between lawful and legal. Lawful means following natural law, the basic human rights we're born with. Legal just means following rules made by governments. Something can be legal, but completely against natural law. The word registration comes from Latin reg, meaning crown. When you register something, you're giving it to the crown, the government. That's why they want us to register everything: cars, houses, births, marriages. Each registration gives them more control. Even simple words like must, should, and shall have hidden legal meanings. Must means may, should means optional, and shall means may. But most people think these words mean something has to be done. This confusion helps them control us. Think about how we talk about money, making money, earning a living. These phrases make us think we have to work for the right to live. But no one should have to earn the right to be alive. That's a natural right. The phrase mind control makes people think of science fiction. But controlling minds through language happens every day. TV news uses special words to make us feel certain ways. Politicians use language to make bad things sound good. Here's a big one: the word name. When you say, "My name is," you're claiming to be the name. But you're not a name, you're a living being. The name is a piece of paper property that banks and governments control. The word summons has magic power in their system. It means to call up the dead. When courts summon you, they're treating you like a dead entity, a corporation, not a living person. They use Latin in law because it's the language of the dead. Ancient Rome treated people as dead entities to control them. Today's legal system does the same thing. Breaking free starts with learning what words really mean. Once you understand their tricks, you can avoid giving away your rights. You can learn to use words that keep your freedom instead of giving it away. Speaking and writing carefully makes a difference. Instead of saying, "I am John," say, "I am called John." Instead of saying, "I understand," say, "I comprehend," or "I hear you." Small changes like these maintain your rights. These language tricks go back to old banking and shipping laws. Bankers and lawyers still use this system to control trade, money, and people. But now you know some of their secrets. Knowledge of these words gives power back to regular people. The birth certificate represents one of the most significant documents in our lives, but few people know its true purpose. Let's look at what happens right after a baby is born in a hospital. Within hours of birth, hospital staff create a record of live birth. The parents fill out paperwork, providing their names and other details. This information goes to state agencies, which then produce the official birth certificate. But this document does something very strange. It creates a legal entity separate from the living baby. Think of it like this. You have two versions of yourself: the flesh and blood you, born from your mother, and the paper you, created by the government through the birth certificate. This paper version of you is called the legal person or legal fiction. The government assigns this legal person a social security number, which acts like a tracking number for a corporation. This number links to every financial transaction, tax payment, and government document throughout your life. Most people don't realize they're acting as representatives of their legal fiction when they sign documents, pay taxes, or get licenses. The name on your driver's license, credit cards, and bank accounts isn't actually you. It's the legal fiction created by your birth certificate. This system turns living people into corporate entities that can be managed under commercial law. The birth certificate serves as proof that you voluntarily entered into this system, even though neither you nor your parents likely knew what was happening. The process goes back to the 1930s, when the United States went bankrupt. The government needed a way to create value and credit, so they started using citizens as collateral through their birth certificates. Each certificate represents a share in USA Incorporated, traded on financial markets. The difference between you and your legal fiction matters in court. When you appear in court, you represent your straw man, the legal person. The judge addresses the legal fiction, not the living being. This explains why courts use maritime law symbols and treat people like ships in commerce. You can see this system at work in official documents. Notice how government letters, court papers, and licenses display your name in all capital letters. This writing style signals they're addressing the legal fiction, not you as a living person. This setup affects everything, from banking to taxes to court proceedings. The birth certificate creates the legal fiction that allows governments and banks to treat living people as corporate entities under commercial law. The key point is this: you're not your birth certificate or your legal name. Those are tools created by the system to manage human beings as commercial entities. The living you exists separate from these paper fictions. Some people try to separate themselves from their legal fiction through complex paperwork. But the better approach is to know the difference between you, the living being, and the legal entity created by your birth certificate. This knowledge helps you deal with courts, government agencies, and banks more effectively. The birth certificate system shows how deeply commercial law runs through our society. By converting living people into paper entities at birth, the system can manage the population through contracts, licenses, and financial obligations. Take a look at your birth certificate now. You'll notice clues that reveal its true nature: bond paper, serial numbers, and your name in all capital letters. These elements show its role in commerce, not just as a record of birth. The birth certificate marks the beginning of a process that turns living people into corporate entities. From that first document, a structure of control is built through licenses, permits, contracts, and financial obligations. This information isn't meant to scare anyone. It simply explains how the legal system views and processes human beings. By understanding this structure, you can better grasp why courts and government agencies operate the way they do. The next time you look at official documents, pay attention to how they display your name. The all-caps version signals you're dealing with the legal fiction created by your birth certificate, not you as a living being. This awareness clears up many confusing aspects of law and government. The connection between courts and maritime law runs deep through our legal system. Look at any courtroom. The judge sits higher than everyone else, just like a ship's captain on the bridge. That's no accident. These courts operate under maritime or admiralty law principles. Ever notice the American flag with gold fringe in courtrooms? That fringe signals maritime jurisdiction. Regular flags don't have it. It's specific to admiralty settings. When you step into a courtroom, you're stepping onto a ship in dry dock, with the judge as captain. The language used in court ties back to maritime roots. The dock where defendants stand comes from the same word as a loading dock for ships. Cases are discharged, courts have berths, and people are charged with crimes, just like cargo gets charged to a ship's manifest. The United States adopted this system too. Article 3 of the Constitution specifically mentions admiralty jurisdiction. Most people don't realize they're following maritime rules on land. The courts don't tell you this directly. Look at birth certificates again. They list a birth date, not birth date. A berth is where ships dock. The certificate itself gets printed on bond paper because it creates value that banks can trade. You're registered as a vessel conducting commerce. This connection to maritime law explains why judges wear black robes. Ship captains wore black to show authority. In court, you're not dealing with criminal or civil law. You're dealing with banking law. That's why courts focus so much on money. Fines, penalties, and settlements all feed the banking system. This also explains why courts demand you stand before the judge. On ships, crew members had to stand before the captain. The entire court process mirrors maritime customs from centuries ago. Even the layout of courtrooms reflects ship design. The judge sits in the command bridge position. The jury box is off to the side, like crew quarters. The public sits in the galley. These details aren't random. They're deliberate. So why does this matter? Because the system thrives on your ignorance and consent. Everything, your birth certificate, your taxes, your court appearances, is a contract that pulls you deeper into their jurisdiction. They use maritime principles to turn you into cargo, a resource to be taxed, tracked, and controlled. But here's the key. Knowledge is power. When you see the symbols, understand the words, and recognize the contracts, you begin to step outside the game. The moment you stop acting as the straw man they created is the moment you start reclaiming control of your life. The system isn't broken. It works exactly as intended. But now you know where to look. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. What seems strange or nonsensical begins to make perfect sense when you trace it back to its roots. Sea trade, Saturn worship, and symbols of control. Courts, governments, and global systems aren't random. They operate with purpose, following principles and symbols that have existed for centuries. When you understand these connections, the confusing pieces of the puzzle start to align. The system isn't broken. It's designed to work this way. Now that you see it, you can start asking questions, recognizing patterns, and understanding how deeply the structure runs. Once you see, you can't unsee. Saturn, the hidden ruler. Long before Jupiter rose to prominence, the ancient Romans revered Saturn as their primary god. During Saturnalia, a festival where societal roles were reversed, slaves became masters and masters served slaves. They celebrated the god's influence. Why? Because Saturn symbolizes hierarchy, control, and inversion. A system where order is maintained through reversal and illusion. In Greek mythology, Saturn was known as Kronos, the god of time. And time itself represents the ultimate form of control. The 7-day week, for example, is based on the 7 classical planets, with Saturday placed in the center as Saturn's day. The very structure of our lives, clocks, calendars, are all Saturnian constructs. Even Saturn's hexagonal storm at its north pole adds to the mystery. This perfectly shaped 6-sided structure spins like a machine, appearing almost intentionally designed. But the symbolism of hexagons and cubes doesn't stop there. Corporate logos, religious symbols, and architectural designs often feature hexagons. Some believe the storm emits electromagnetic signals, influencing Earth and reinforcing the illusion of our physical reality. Saturn's rings? They're not just icy, they're broadcasting antennas. Crystals, especially ice crystals, transmit electromagnetic frequencies. Some believe Saturn's rings amplify these signals, maintaining the illusion of the material world. Saturn is also associated with the color black, which symbolizes authority and power. Judges wear black robes when delivering rulings. Priests, graduates, and high-ranking officials don black attire. Ancient cultures called Saturn the Black Sun, seeing it as a hidden source of energy and influence. Look closely, and you'll spot Saturn in occult symbols and secret societies. From ancient orders to modern corporations, Saturnian imagery keeps appearing, always tied to systems of power, control, and limitation. The financial system itself traces its roots to Saturn. The dollar sign closely resembles Saturn's symbol, a serpent wrapped around a staff. Wall Street is full of Saturnian imagery, obelisks, cubes, and statues, all symbols of limits, trade, and control. Saturn governs boundaries, contracts, and restrictions, traits ideal for a system designed to control money and resources. Every loan, tax, and financial agreement binds you, much like a ship tethered to port. Saturn's influence stretches beyond material systems. Esoterically, Saturn resides at the sixth chakra, connected to the pineal gland, the third eye, the gateway to spiritual intuition. Some believe Saturn's frequencies suppress human consciousness, keeping us focused on material concerns and limiting access to higher awareness. Instead of breaking free, we remain locked in the physical illusion, distracted by wealth, entertainment, and fear, hallmarks of Saturn's reign. Even words carry Saturnian fingerprints. Saturn's influence extends even into language. Words like Satan, Santa, and Saint are linguistically connected to Saturn. The letter S itself resembles a snake, a symbol of Saturn. Many companies intentionally incorporate this letter into their names and logos to tap into these hidden energies. The letter S is a serpent, a symbol of control and deception. It's no accident that brands and corporations use this letter, along with cubes and rings, in their logos to harness Saturnian power. Consider the word contract, derived from contract, meaning to bind, reduce, or shrink. Every contract you sign pulls you deeper into the Saturnian system of commerce and control. Saturn's rings act as a perfect metaphor for the boundaries placed on humanity. They create a prison without walls, a boundaryless fence that traps us in an artificial matrix of limitation. Whether it's the legal system, banking, or time itself, Saturn's influence is pervasive, only avoidable when you begin to see it. So why does this matter? Because awareness is the key. The moment you start recognizing Saturn's symbols and systems, you begin to break free from their grip. You stop viewing life as a series of limitations and start understanding that there's more, beyond the rings, beyond the illusion. The more you look, the more you see these symbols of control everywhere, and it's no accident. Let's dive into geometry, which Nikola Tesla called the language of the universe. Saturn's rings, the cube, and the hexagon, they are not just random shapes. Geometry has always been used by the powerful to harness energy, shape perception, and maintain control. Take the hexagon, for example. The Star of David, one of the most recognized symbols in the world, is a hexagram. Snowflakes, crystals, and honeycombs naturally form hexagons, patterns of balance, structure, and energy. The hexagonal storm on Saturn isn't just a weather phenomenon. It's a frequency, a vibration broadcast into our reality. Ancient civilizations understood the power of these shapes. Sacred geometry was employed in the construction of temples, cathedrals, and pyramids, designed to channel and amplify energy. These structures mimic Saturn's rings, moving in ritualistic orbits around a geometric center. But why is this important? Because geometry creates frequency, and frequency influences the mind, body, and spirit. You've likely heard about raising your vibration or being on the same frequency. This isn't just spiritual jargon, it's rooted in physics. Everything has a frequency, your thoughts, emotions, and even your environment. Those in power understand how to manipulate it. Saturn's rings function like a broadcast antenna, sending out low vibrational frequencies that keep humanity trapped in a state of fear, survival, and material obsession. Think about it. Fear keeps you focused on scarcity. Survival makes you dependent on systems, jobs, money, and governments. Obsession with material wealth distracts you from spiritual awareness. Is it any wonder the media constantly bombards us with fear? Wars, debt, pandemics, always something to keep our minds in fight or flight mode. Low vibrations, Saturn's influence. Ever feel foggy, drained, or unable to think clearly? That's not random. It's frequency manipulation. The elite have always used symbolism to communicate and hide knowledge in plain sight. One of their most important symbols is the black sun. In esoteric traditions, Saturn is the true black sun, a hidden force that rules the material world, tied to Saturn worship and energy manipulation. Here's what you need to understand. Saturn doesn't just influence the material world, it controls perception. Imagine this. The physical world isn't the ultimate reality. It's a construct, a matrix held together by frequencies. If you're trapped in this low vibrational state, fear, survival, consumption, you'll never look beyond it. You won't question the system because you can't see it. Symbols reinforce the illusion. Look around. Corporate logos often use rings, cubes, or hexagons. Why? Because they anchor these frequencies into your subconscious. Movies, music videos, and video games are loaded with Saturnian imagery. Rings, black cubes, serpents, and inverted symbols appear repeatedly. It's not art, it's programming. And when you unknowingly engage with these symbols, you give consent. Energy flows where attention goes. The more you focus on these systems, the more you reinforce their control. The system isn't all-powerful. It's built on consent and ignorance. The moment you become aware of it, its hold begins to weaken. Here's what you can do. Recognize the symbols. Start looking for Saturnian imagery, cubes, rings, and black suns in corporate logos, buildings, and media. Once you see them, they lose their power. Raise your vibration. Shift out of fear and survival. Meditate, spend time in nature, and focus on thoughts of love, gratitude, and abundance. High vibrations disrupt the system's frequencies. Reclaim your energy. Stop giving your attention to distractions, fear-driven news, consumer culture, and toxic environments. Focus on what truly matters. Question the system. Don't accept contracts blindly. Read the fine print, challenge assumptions, and understand your rights. Remember, the prison isn't made of bars or walls. It's made of beliefs, words, and perceptions. The more you awaken to the truth, the more the illusion begins to crumble. Saturn's influence is real, but so is your power to break free. The question isn't whether the system exists. It's whether you're ready to see it for what it is and step beyond its control. Modern science confirms Saturn emits intense radio frequencies. These electromagnetic emissions could affect Earth's magnetic field and human consciousness. Ancient cultures may have understood this through observation and wisdom. The elite don't hide their use of Saturn symbols. They display them openly. But most people don't notice or understand the meaning. This hidden in plain sight approach keeps the system running smoothly. Saturn represents karma, limitations, and material reality. While these have their place, too much Saturn influence restricts human potential. Balance comes from awareness and conscious choice rather than unconscious control. By studying Saturn's role in control systems, we see how deep these patterns go. The symbols and frequencies affect everything from time to money to entertainment. This knowledge lets us make better choices about what we accept and believe. Looking at Saturn's influence shows us the bigger picture of how reality gets shaped and controlled. These patterns have existed for thousands of years across cultures. Now we can see them clearly and choose our response. The control system wants you to stay small and afraid, but right now, you can choose a different path. The truth is, you already have everything needed to break these invisible chains. Think about your daily routine. From the moment you wake up to your phone alarm, through your workday staring at screens, to falling asleep watching TV. How much of your time and attention goes to things that make you stronger versus things that make you keep you stuck? The media feeds us a steady diet of fear, outrage, and division. Social platforms hook us with endless scrolling and artificial dopamine hits. Entertainment numbs us into passive consumers instead of active creators. These aren't accidents. They're tools of control. But awareness is the first step to freedom. Once you see the bars of the cage, you can start planning your escape. Start by taking back control of your attention. Turn off notifications. Set boundaries around screen time. Choose carefully what information you let into your mind. Your thoughts create your reality. If you fill your head with fear-based programming, you'll see threats everywhere. If you focus on beauty, creativity, and connection, those things will grow in your life instead. Take back control of your body too. The food industry profits from making us sick and dependent on medications. But real food, fruits, vegetables, clean protein, gives you energy and mental clarity. Movement in nature resets your nervous system. Proper rest lets you think clearly. Question everything you've been taught about money and success. Why do we accept trading our life force for dollars? Why do we believe we need more stuff to be happy? The system trains us to be good consumers, not free humans. Look at how children play and create before society programs them. They follow their curiosity. They live in the present moment. They don't worry about status or fitting in. That natural state is still inside you. The elite use Saturn's energy of limitation and control, but you can use it differently, for discipline, focus, and building lasting positive changes. Instead of letting it cage you, let it ground and strengthen you. Start small. Pick one area where you'll reclaim your sovereignty today. Maybe it's turning off your TV. Maybe it's spending time in nature. Maybe it's learning a new skill that makes you more self-reliant. The system counts on you feeling powerless. But you're not. You're a creative force of nature who can shape reality. The more people wake up and break free, the weaker the control grid becomes. Your mind is the battleground. Fill it with inspiration instead of fear. Connect with others who see what you see. Share what you learn. Every person who frees themselves helps free others. The old systems are breaking down, but we get to choose what replaces them. We can build new ways of living based on freedom, creativity, and real human connection. You don't need anyone's permission to be free. The door to your cage is already open. You just have to choose to walk through it. The path won't always be easy. The system will try to pull you back to sleep. But once you taste real freedom, you won't want to go back. Start now. Turn off the noise. Get quiet and listen to your inner wisdom. It knows the way. Take that first step, then another. Keep going. The world needs your unique gifts and voice. This isn't about fighting against the old system. That just feeds it more energy. This is about creating something new. Building parallel structures, growing food, making art, starting local communities, supporting each other. You're not alone. More people wake up every day. We find each other, we share resources and skills. We remember how to live in harmony with nature and each other. The stars are aligning. Ancient prophecies point to this time of great change. But we choose how the story ends. Do we stay asleep in comfortable chains? Or do we rise into our full potential as free human beings? The choice is yours. No one can make it for you. But if you're reading this, you likely already know what you need to do. Trust that knowing. Take action today. Your future self will thank you. The greatest prison is the one in your mind. Break those chains first. The rest will follow. You are more powerful than you've been led to believe. The time for freedom is now. The time has come to take back control of our lives. Each of us holds the ability to shape reality, but too many stay trapped in manufactured illusions. I'm asking you to make a choice today. Continue accepting what you're shown, or start questioning everything. Look at your daily routine. From the moment you wake up to when you go to sleep, how many of your thoughts and actions are truly your own? The media feeds you selected stories. Social platforms show you filtered content. Even your shopping choices are guided by targeted ads. These aren't accidents, they're tools of control. But you can break free. Start small. Pick one thing you do each day and ask yourself why you do it. Is it because you want to, or because you were programmed to think you should? Challenge your assumptions. Research beyond mainstream sources. Connect with others who ask questions. The next step is harder, but more important. Share what you learn. Talk to friends and family about manipulation techniques. Show them examples of controlled narratives. Help them spot the patterns. Yes, some will resist. That's expected. Breaking free of lifelong programming isn't easy, but even planting the seed of doubt can start someone's path to awareness. Document everything. Keep records of censorship, manipulation, and propaganda. Build evidence files. Share them widely. The more people see the patterns, the harder they are to deny. Use secure communication methods. Protect yourself and your information. Learn to spot psychological operations. They're everywhere. In news, entertainment, education, and social media. Study their methods. Notice emotional manipulation, fear tactics, and division strategies. Once you see them, they lose power over you. Build self-reliance. Grow food if you can. Learn practical skills. Create local support networks. The less you depend on controlled systems, the more freedom you have to act. Strong communities are harder to manipulate than isolated individuals. Most importantly, stay focused on solutions. It's easy to get lost in anger about control systems, but anger clouds judgment. Channel that energy into positive action. Every person who wakes up weakens the grip of mass manipulation. This isn't about destroying systems. It's about building better ones. Think about what a free society looks like. Work toward that vision. Support others doing the same. Small actions multiply when enough people take them. The choice is yours now. You can return to comfortable illusions or face uncomfortable truths. You can stay silent or speak out. You can accept what you're given or create something new. But know this. Once you see the control systems, you can't unsee them. I'm asking you to be brave, to think independently, to question everything, to help others do the same. The path won't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever is. Together we can break the chains of mental slavery and build a world of true freedom. Take action today. Start your own research. Join existing truth movements. Create new ones. Share this message. The more people who wake up, the faster change happens. Don't wait for others to go first. Be the catalyst. And if you see the symbols, you've cracked the code. Comment, "I see it," and let the truth flow. Do not forget to like if you found value in this and share this video with others who are also awake. Remember, this is more than just talk. It's a call to break free from artificial limits and reach your true potential. The tools of liberation are in your hands. Use them wisely. Use them now. The future depends on what we do today, not next year, not when it's convenient. Today, stand up, speak out, Take action. The time is now. Till the next time.